Everybody has their expertise. Mike's just, his mind is a computer and can
Yeah.
can always have the cap figure in mind or how many draft picks they can actually trade. And it's important to have a guy like that because trade season's coming up. At some point, Boston's going to probably do something to bolster their chances to try win an NBA title this year. And it was interesting the other day, and I don't mean to kind of guide us in this direction, but just kind of having to go this way, where Brian Windhorst talked about the lack of first round picks that are available in this year's trade season because so many have futures traded all over the place. I mean, Brooklyn obviously mortgaging their future. You'll get James Harden. There's a lot of picks there. There's a lot of picks going to Oklahoma City, and I don't even know where they're coming from. I just know the Thunder have all of them. It's interesting, and it's important to have a guy like what's up?
Thunder and the Pelicans.
Right. Yeah, there's a battle for supremacy. Belichick would be jealous of the Thunder's spot right now in the NBA. But you look at everybody's ability to trade picks. And this is again where Mike kind of comes into play and where his expertise comes into play because he's going to be able to tell you exactly what they can offer right on the spot. Like, oh yeah, this team can do this, and this. We can up that with this, and this. And that's why Mike, and everybody has their expertise. Like, Austin Ainge has his own role in the front office. Danny has kind of his hands in everything. But, like, Mike's the kind of guy where you're trying to make significant improvements to your team mid-season. He's the guy you need. And as you look at the NBA landscape right now, his role is going to be really crucial come March, Keith.
Yeah, and I think what's important there too is it allows if you're an opposing team, and this was kind of a takeaway as well, I think with Boston. Boston has one of the smaller front offices in the NBA. It's not small by any means, but they don't have a million people that work in their front office like some of these other teams do. And part of that is because you have guys like Mike Zarren, you have Austin Ainge, they wear multiple hats for the team. They're able to do multiple different things. And in Zarren's case, not only is he the assistant general manager, but he's also the general team counsel, and essentially he's their salary cap guru. So what happens is a lot of these trades start at the assistant level, right? It's the two assistants are batting around ideas and going back and forth because Danny might be not right now in this environment we're in, but in a normal world might be out on a college scouting trip or he might be overseas. And it's, so it's Zarren and an assistant are batting it back and forth. And as it gets closer, then that's when the head honchos get involved. And then eventually everything is taken to the owner and run by the owner. But I think what it does with Zarren is if you're batting ideas back and forth, he's not having to say, well, let me get with our cap guys to see what that does for us. He knows exactly where they're going to be. And he also, I'm fairly certain after talking to a lot of people, most guys said within a few bucks, he can tell you, what a guy's salary is, which is, insane. But also he can tell you, all right, well, that guy's a free agent in 2 years and, you got early bird rights on him and all those kind of things that are, even for somebody like me, who that's what I love most. I have to look that stuff up, every time to understand. I can, tell you James Harden makes 41 million, but I can't tell you the exact, numbers behind that. And he can. And one of the quotes I got was somebody said to me, I don't know if I put it in the article or not. I don't think I did. Was we're in a position where it is we're going to make this trade, and it ends up coming down to Zarren telling us, we're 200,000 short on that.
Yeah. Sounds like you're jealous there, Keith. That's all I'm saying. It sounds like there might be a
little bit. A little bit.
I know,
right?
On an ownership level, we know that obviously Wyc Grousbeck and Steve Pagliuca and all these guys, they are involved and care, about the success of the franchise more than anything else. Like, they are about winning. They're not about just making money. It's, they are fans. They are invested. When you talk about trades, like, some owners meddle. Like, these are not those guys, but some owners, obviously in some franchises, meddle and want to be involved in every decision. Now, Wyc has been almost over the top about his faith and belief in Danny Ainge, to the point where, like, he has said, like, I'm not going to go against Danny, when it comes to, I trust him is the general message. I'm not saying it probably in his complimentary terms, but he trusts him. That is the important thing to take away. And so if Danny's making deals, like, obviously, like, the deal with the Nets back in 13. Like, that's a big trade. And there have been other big trades. But when it's smaller stuff that doesn't necessarily, move the needle to the extreme, does Danny have to take everything to Wyc just for, like a cursory approval? Or, is there a certain line for that where Danny can, kind of do whatever he wants, but then, when it's like, all right, we're going to trade Pierce and KG. Yeah, I'm going to go talk to ownership about that.
Yeah, those are kind of dependent on team for the most part. I think if it's something small, like, hey, we want to, sign Jeff Teague to a league minimum contract. I don't know that that's there. But then if it comes into, hey, we're going to make this deal and it's going to put us in the luxury tax and cost you, millions of dollars, then
Right.
absolutely that is a question. Or if it's a bigger thing like, hey, we're making this big trade,
Well,
you
then
always
we're
run it by
going to
the
trade the
owner.
number 1 overall pick in the draft for number 2.
Exactly. Yeah, and I guarantee that was just a conversation, and I'm sure from the way those guys have always described their relationship, Wyc said, if that's what you think the right thing to do is, you do it, and off we go, and
Yeah.
never even questioned it. And I think that is the benefit there. Where I always look at the Dallas Mavericks in this sense. Remember when Mark Cuban first bought that team? He was super involved, and he was we're making trades and we're doing all this stuff, and they were kind of always good, but never good enough. It was when he finally took a step back and said, I'm going to really let my basketball people do this. That's when they finally got that title. And then they were in the mix for several years running. I think the, Danny LaRue, who I've worked with for years over at Real GM, says ownership is the biggest competitive advantage in professional sports. And I think it's completely true. If you have an owner who is willing to spend money, one, and then two, is willing to let your people do what they do, then you're golden. It's when they get in there and they're either cheap, or they're cheap and want to be heavily involved, or they're willing to spend but want to be heavily involved. That's when it gets really messy. And I think the Celtics are very fortunate that their ownership has said, we'll pay the tax for a contender. We understand. I think there's probably limits there for Danny. And I think it's also for Danny to be honest with them to say, we're not going all in right now because I don't know that we're quite there this year, those kind of things. And they're probably trusting him on that. Or if then I think on the flip side, when he comes and says, hey, we got to go into the tax because we're close, we're one guy away, we can go get player X, he's going to put us over the top, I think. Then that's on ownership to say, I trust you, let's move forward.